The libs are falling apart over the presidential immunity Supreme Court decision, or maybe they're just still torn up that their candidate is Joe Biden. But either way, the show starts in just a few. But first, a word from our sponsor. Have you seen Chuck Norris lately? Well, he's still kicking butt and staying active well into his 80s. And what's even more shocking is he looks more jacked than ever and seems to have more energy than guys half his age. And that's all thanks to Morning Kick, a revolutionary new daily drink from Roundhouse Provisions that combines ultra potent greens like spirulina and kale with probiotics, prebiotics, collagen, and even ashwagandha. Just mixed with water, stir, and enjoy. And unlike other green drinks out there, this one tastes exactly like strawberry lemonade and has hundreds of five-star reviews. So go to chuckdefense.com/Tommy for up to 44% off of your regular priced order. Plus, every purchase is backed by a 90-day money-back guarantee. So if you want to experience smoother digestion, a boost of energy, and just overall healthier body, then go to chuckdefense.com/Tommy today.
This election is no longer about the old guy that's in the White House now. Like, all the op-ed pages and the New York Times can run around and opine about, what Joe Biden should do. And, y'all have fun with that. Enjoy yourselves, intellectual thought leaders. I no longer care. Doesn't matter to me anymore. It's above me now. It's above me now. There's a Waffle House next door. There's a Best Western next door as well. It's above me now. It's above Joe Biden now. Don't care about Joe Biden's age, infirmity, that he shuffled when he walked. I don't care. He could be seated for the rest of from now to election day and never get up off a chair. He could sit down. He could roll around in a wheelchair. He could be on a skateboard, seated. I don't care. Donald John Trump cannot be allowed back into the White House. Because if you combine that madman with this court, two of whose members are insurrectionists one of whom flew an upside down flag at his home and blamed it on his wife, who's also crazy. The other of whose wife literally was part of the insurrection. And they ruled in this. They put themselves in the Leonard Leo 6. They went ahead and ruled on this with no shame. You combine this court, two of whose members are going to immediately resign, and put 30-year-olds in there, including probably the guy who wrote the opinion in the beaters case, meaning that beaters should be able to get machine guns, which, by the way, they have now arrogated to themselves the power to decide all federal rules. Everything, whether your plane that you fly in is safe, how much carbon can be in the atmosphere, how much filth can be in your water. They said agencies that have experts can't decide that. They will decide that. So they are kings, and Trump is king. You put him in the White House, combined with this court and a Republican House and Senate, we're done, y'all.
Good times. Yesterday, the Supreme Court ruled the President of the United States has immunity for official acts taken during his or her time in office. And as you can see, the left is big mad about it. They are shaking in their boots over it. Not because it gets Donald Trump off the hook for the other BS cases brought and weaponized against him, because it doesn't, but because the decision does undermine some of the shady crap Jack Smith and others are trying to pull. This ruling stalls their efforts almost certainly until after the election, and at least as of now, that election ain't looking too good for their current guy. But it should be concerning that Joyless Ann Reed and others would rather have a corpse in the White House than Donald Trump. Damn, I mean, I know some Democrats don't have a problem with dead people voting, but now they want him elected too? This is all smoke and mirrors, though. They're not going to run Joe for re-election. They're going to run Joe a bath at the nursing home after they swap him out. At least that's my assessment. But let me bring in former DNC deputy press secretary and Democrat strategist. Got a lot of strategizing to do. Jose Aristimuno. Jose, all right, I want to give you a chance to give me your best elevator pitch for the current state of the Democrat Party.
Yeah, thank you, Tommy, for having me on the show. I think the most important thing is what type of vision does each of the parties have for the country. It's really not this election is not that much about Donald Trump or Joe Biden. It's about the agenda that each of these parties are going to carry forward. Republicans, I see them; they're obsessed about Joe Biden, and he's old and he can't walk. Look, nobody cares about that. They care about the agenda that Joe Biden will will push forward, right? That's the most important thing. This president, whether you like him or not, he's been able to bring the inflation down from 9% to 3%. He's been able to create 15 million jobs. So we're in a right path. Things are going in the right direction. They're not where they should be 100% yet, but I think things are going well for the country. That and just my additional thing I will say is that the other guy's a criminal. So it's what do you want? Do you want the older guy that can barely walk? I'll give you that. Or do you want the guy that's a convicted felon? You take your pick.
Well, the other guy, your current guy, is not a convicted felon. He's an untried felon, mostly because Robert Hur said that he is too cognitively failing to be able to withstand any prosecution. So there's that. But I do want to get into this a little bit with you. I don't think that you or any Democrat out there wants Joe Biden to be your nominee or your candidate, and I don't think that's eventually who you're going to go with. But do you not think that there are some national security risks and implications that come along with having a commander-in-chief who is only active or, I guess, cognitively aware between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m.? You just said, yeah, the guy's old, he can barely walk, but nobody cares about that. Don't you think that that's just a little bit concerning when it comes to him leading our country?
I haven't seen any evidence that Joe Biden is not
Jose,
energized.
evidence. You watched the debate on Thursday. Don't lie to me here.
I'm talking about the argument between the hours that you're saying between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. or whatever the time frame is. Look, Joe Biden, he's old, and I give you that. He's an old guy. He's 81 years old. But you saw him the next day. I don't know if you saw the rally, but he was in North Carolina and he was doing just fine.
Yeah, the
right?
drugs kicked in. The drugs kicked in about 12 hours too late. But listen, these other appearances that he has done, including the little speech he gave yesterday that was 5 minutes long, off teleprompter. He took no questions. Do you think from a strategy perspective, do you think that if he wants to calm some of the fears about his decline, that maybe he should go out and he should speak without a teleprompter? He should answer questions, not pre-written questions from pre-selected reporters, but do you think that that would help to calm some of the fears that a lot of people, including your own party and your own media members, have about his current state?
Sure. It's a great question. I think he needs to travel the country. I think Republicans will say, well, they should hide him in the basement, just like they did in 2020, right? Or whatever the case is. No, Joe Biden should travel the country. I don't think there's a better candidate than Joe Biden in terms of what he's done for the country, in terms of the record, and in terms of branding recognition, right? Name recognition. Joe Biden has the biggest name recognition than any other Democrat in the country right now. So he is the best chance we got to beat Donald Trump, and he should stay. He's got the final word, right? If tomorrow he says, I'm dropping out, well, cool. Then we can look into the other hypotheticals that Republicans are throwing out there. It's going to be Michelle Obama, all these things that they're saying. I think it's dangerous. And I think it's what worries me about Republicans today, Tomi, is that their only weapon against Joe Biden is his age. They have nothing else. They don't talk about his record because his record is actually good.
I would love to talk about his record, Jose, but my thoughts about his record aside, the polling shows us, and this is not just one poll or a Fox News poll, the polling shows us that when it comes to his record, he's underwater as well. When it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to the economy, when it comes to the wide open southern border. In these polls, Donald Trump is walloping him in all of those other areas as well. So whereas I do think Joe Biden's age is a concern, I have long held that can't be the only strategy against the Democrat Party, because when you guys do swap him out, it has to be about the record and the Democrat agenda that you brought up. And it can't just be about old Joe Biden, because when they put him out to pasture, we're going to have to contend with Gavin Newsom, or if they really want to, throw something wild into the mix, throw Kamala in there. I mean, I'd love to see it. I would love to see you guys throw.
You're all in. You're all in that he's getting replaced before November.
1,000%. Yeah.
All right. I'll bet you $100. I'll bet you $100 right on the show.
Okay, $100, and Jesse Waters is going to owe me $100. A lot of other folks out there are going to owe me a lot of money. I should actually bet more, because a lot of folks are going to owe me a lot of money. But let's just be honest, and I want you to be as honest with me as you possibly can. If not Joe, who would you like to see assume the nomination?
Look, it's a great question, but it's a question that I'm not going to answer, because I just don't think there's a
replacement
for Joe Biden.
If you asked me that question, if you said, if not Donald Trump, who, I could give you an answer immediately. I would tell you Ron DeSantis. So it doesn't hurt me to say that. Donald Trump is
Well,
not
look, I can
failing,
tell
so
you,
Donald
look,
Trump's going to be our
even though-
nominee. But I can answer that question. I could tell you, if not Trump, who, and I would say Ron DeSantis. So please do me the honor of answering that same question. I know you're maintaining Joe's going to be your nominee, but if it were not Joe, who would you like to see?
Look, whether it's Gavin Newsom from California, whether it's Kamala Harris, and I know a whole lot of people in the country might not love her, anyone is going to beat Donald Trump, because the amount of people that do not like Donald Trump, it's a lot bigger than the amount of people that dislike Joe Biden. And I really do believe that. I think when you have somebody, I was born in Venezuela, Tomi, and you might know this character called Hugo Chavez. He wanted to be a dictator. He destroyed Venezuela the same way that Donald Trump wants to destroy the United States. He said it himself. He said he wants to be a dictator on day one. This is not me making something up. He doesn't believe in elections. He said that he might not trust the results in 2024. So what does that mean? That if he wins, he believes the result, but if he doesn't, it's a fraud. It sounds too much like Cuba, sounds too much like Venezuela, and I don't want that for the United States of America.
We can get into those questions on democracy. I mean, I would say that weaponizing the justice system against your political opponent and trying to keep him off the ballot is a pretty big threat to democracy. But we could go back and forth on all of that all day long, and you'd have your talking points and I would have my talking points. But what I think is interesting, because it's the same thing, I talked to another former press secretary on the Democrat side last week, and I asked that same question about who would you want, and shockingly to some but not to me, he also first rattled off Gavin Newsom. And I find that interesting. It's validating for me because I've been saying it for so long. Gavin Newsom also supposedly traveling to New Hampshire to campaign for Joe Biden. But, you know, there's also a discussion to be had about the current state of the country and potentially 25th Amendment time. Now, I know you're going to tell me that that's not necessary. We don't need a 25th Amendment Joe Biden. But if that were to happen, are you confident that a President Kamala Harris could get the job done?
She would 100% get the job done. I don't think we're going to get there. I could guarantee you, and we can make another bet, that's not going to happen. There are talks, as you know, about the DNC nominating Joe Biden even before August, as soon as the middle of July, to solidify and reaffirm that Joe Biden's in it to win in November. So I don't see that happening at all.
So you guys, you have to tell me this on the Democrat side, because all I hear the Democrats say is that Donald Trump is an existential threat to democracy, to the world, to babies and kittens and puppies. I've heard it all before. But if you guys truly do feel that way about the threat of Donald Trump, why would you keep Joe Biden in the race when he could very well just crap out? I mean, that to me is interesting. It's like, I don't understand. That's why I maintain it's not going to happen. But if you on the Democrat side are so worried about the threat Donald Trump poses, why would you put up a man like Joe Biden who is flailing and failing?
Look, I think first and foremost, we know statistically incumbents usually always repeat, with a few exceptions, Donald Trump being one of those exceptions because he was so bad for the country. So I think that's number one. Number two, name recognition, as I was telling you earlier. And second, Joe Biden's a good, decent man, and he's actually done good things for the American people. Yes, he's a little older. Yes, he stumbles on his words every now and then, but so does Donald Trump. I think the right-wing media doesn't like to cover the fact that Trump was, when he goes into his rallies, he starts mumbling and talking about water and the need for washing machines, all this crazy nonsense that make any sense. I don't see you guys covering that part of the story.
Well,
so I think they're both pretty
failing.
old.
Everybody has a moment where maybe they say the wrong name or whatever. I mean, I'm 31, I do it. But when Donald Trump is making jokes about sharks getting electrocuted or whatever, he's clearly making a joke. You don't have to think it's funny. You can think it's a dad joke or you can think it's bizarre. Some of the things he says are kind of off the wall. But I don't think it's to the level of saying that you've defeated Medicare or that people are getting raped by their sisters. I mean, am I wrong?
Well, I'll give you examples. I mean, he's confused Trump. He's confused names all the time. I think he confused Nikki Haley with Nancy Pelosi. He's
well, not a lot of difference between the two of them.
The way that the Republicans are obsessed with every little thing that Biden does. I'm not obsessed in that way. That I'm waiting. I'm watching every video, waiting for Trump to fall or to say something, because I don't care about that. I care about the future of the country and the record. And I think that a majority of Americans are not going to care about age as much as the right-wing media and Republicans think about it.
But it's not the right-wing media, Jose. It's the left-wing media. It was the night of the debate. It was left-wing media and Democrat operatives that were saying Joe needs to be replaced. So you can't just put it on Republicans, because it's not Republicans that are really saying this. I personally hope I'm wrong. I hope you guys run Joe Biden. As much as I would love to say, I told you so, they swapped him out, because I want our country to be really on a better path and to be saved again by Donald Trump, I hope you run Joe. But it's not the right-wing media that's saying this. It's the left-wing media that's saying this. How do you get around that from a strategy perspective?
There's no question that Joe Biden did horrible, okay? He effed up, let me just say it that way, on the debate night. It was a bad night. Barack Obama had a horrible night in 2012 in his first
but he
debate.
didn't say people were getting
president.
raped by their sisters. And he didn't say he defeated Medicare. And he didn't pause and mumble and fumble and was inaudible. I mean, everybody has a bad debate. When I hear people say it was a bad night is I didn't really hammer my points home. I forgot some stats. I wasn't able to argue my point. That's a bad night. Standing up there and having a senior moment for 90 minutes start to finish, that's not a bad night. That's a bad cognitive state. You disagree with me on that?
It's about 90 minutes. I'll give you that, even though he did a little better towards the end of the debate. Look, I don't think debates move the needle one way or another. They never have. I don't think they will this time around. If we look at the polls, I think Trump is up by 3 points, which is well within the margin of error. So I don't think it's making a lot of difference. I think the independents, that's what's going to be, right? That's going to be the deciding factor. It's going to be a close election, whether it's Joe Biden, whether it's whoever, Michelle Obama, whoever, it's going to be a very, very close election.
It's definitely going to be a close election. I don't think it's going to be Michelle. I think people throwing Michelle's name out there is ridiculous. Yeah, she hasn't done the work. People throwing Gretchen Whitmer, she hasn't done the work. I think she also pissed off the Biden administration because her name's been floated out there. And I think she said maybe some things behind closed doors, reportedly and allegedly. So I don't think it's going to be Gretchen. Any of these other names that are thrown out, I can't even think of them because they're not noteworthy. They don't have name recognition. Gavin Newsom does. He's been out on the campaign trail for at least a year. And I wouldn't say he's been on Joe's campaign trail. I would say he's been on his own. I mean, you've got to help me because I put this out there and I want you to just follow me on this and tell me if you disagree. Gavin Newsom went on a red state tour trying to combat red state narratives, going into Texas, going into Florida. Okay, that was indicator one. You've got Gavin Newsom proposing a constitutional amendment on gun control. Why a governor would be pushing constitutional amendment, it seems a little ambitious. Gavin Newsom goes to Israel. Gavin Newsom talks to the president of China, invites him to San Francisco. Okay, they clean up for that, by the way. Gavin Newsom has been out doing the work. Gavin Newsom actually agreed to a debate on Fox News with Sean Hannity hosting opposite Governor Ron DeSantis. Why would Gavin Newsom put himself in these positions if he wasn't seeking the nomination?
Yeah, well, look, I've seen Nancy Pelosi doing the same thing. She travels the country. She's talked with presidents, you name it, right? I mean, Marco Rubio did the same thing. I'm not doubting that Gavin has presidential ambitions for the future. No doubt about that, right? I'm sure he does, right? And many other politicians, right? It's the nature of the game. It's never enough. You can never go higher. But I don't think they're necessarily for this election. Has it crossed his mind that he might be a top choice if Joe Biden decides to drop out, right? I'm sure it has, but I don't think it's happening. We've seen Joe Biden speak with his family in Camp David a couple of days ago. I mean, I think they're pretty set on the idea that he's going to be the nominee and he's going to be here in November.
Do you think First Lady Jill Biden is evil for what she's doing to Joe?
No, why would she be evil? Because she's pushing him to finish to be here in November?
Yeah, because she's weekend at Bernieing Joe Biden, her husband, and making him look like a fool. If I did that to my husband, people would call me an elder abuser. Why is she not an elder abuser?
Well, I think Joe Biden, I know you disagree with me, but I think he's got the cognitive sharpness to make decisions on his own. I know you don't believe that. So? And I know many people that might be watching the show might say he can't think for himself. Joe Biden can think for himself. He's 81. I'll give you that. But I gotta keep going on the idea that I love how Republicans, not you necessarily, Tommy, but Republicans in general are obsessed with Joe Biden and everything he's doing. And I love that because I think there's going to be a lot of Republicans out there that might say, oh, we got this beat. We're not going to go out and vote. I'm going to stay home, see what happens in November.
No, we can't stay home. You don't think on the flip side of that, you don't think that Democrats for the last 10 years, give or take, have been obsessed with Donald Trump?
It's a mistake. No, it's a mistake. And you know why? That's why Hillary Clinton lost the election in 2016. I gave you that. She lost it because she was obsessed. All she did was Trump. Instead of talking about, she didn't go to Michigan enough. She didn't go to the swing state. That's why Hillary Clinton lost. And I think we learned our lesson in 2016.
Well, we will wait and see. I mean, I'm glad that you're maintaining that Joe's going to be the nominee. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you guys run him. And, you know, I hope that he's okay. It was hard for me to watch the debate last Thursday because I don't want to see anybody struggle like that. It's not fun to watch. Even as a Republican, it's not fun for me to watch. I actually cringed because I felt so badly for him. And the fact that Jill Biden was just getting ready for her Vogue cover personally makes me sick as a human. But I appreciate, Jose, your ability to defend the Democrat talking points. You do it very gracefully. I'm going to hold you to our bet on the $100. If we want to up that bet as we get closer, you just let me know. And I hope to have you back because I really enjoy the conversation.
Likewise. Looking forward to it.
Thanks so much. All right, folks. Team Biden is, I know you're going to be shocked by this, but lying about Trump's position on a national abortion ban and getting community noted in the process. It's time for final thoughts. So Democrats don't have anything to campaign on outside of their hatred for Trump and their sick desire for unfettered abortions. In an effort to distract from the economy, world chaos, inflation, the border invasion, the crime crisis, and their failing candidate, they've chosen to narrow it to two pillars, abortion and orange man bad. It's not the worst strategy because it worked for them in the 2022 midterms, but Donald Trump's actual take on abortion and a national abortion ban is raining on their parade, so now they have to lie about it. Kamala Harris watched the debate. She knows Donald Trump did not say he supports a national abortion ban. In fact, quite the opposite, in case she missed it.
First of all, the Supreme Court just approved the abortion bill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it. And right now, the states control it. That's the vote of the people. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important. Some people don't. Follow your heart.
And meanwhile, this was Joe Biden's shining abortion answer that people are getting raped by their in-laws and their sisters.
But here's the deal. There's a lot of young women are being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters.
That was actually Joe's one big opportunity to maybe garner some support from independents and certain women who are single-issue voters on abortion access, and that was his answer. Good grief. Perhaps that's why our own vice president has to lie about Trump's position. Donald Trump believes this issue is a states' rights issue. He also believes in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. Any assertion otherwise is a lie, and it's a purposeful and deliberate lie. Not surprising from the desperate Democrat Party, but don't fall for it or let your friends fall for it either. Those are my final thoughts. Please be sure to tune in tomorrow live at 1 p.m. Eastern. Also, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. From Nashville, God bless and take care. What's up, guys? Thank you for watching Tomi Lahren is Fearless. If you want more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click here and make sure you subscribe here so you'll never miss a beat. I'll be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.